speakers and who's going to facilitate the National Twogen Community College model. Her name is Lynn Applebaum. Lynn Applebaum is an Educational Alliance's Executive Vice President, where she develops and oversees, enhances high-quality programs, cultivates and promotes inter- and interdepartmental integration and collaboration, and assesses and strengthens policies and operations with a focus on strategic planning, program development, and organizational development. Before coming to the Alliance, Lynn was the Director of Policy at Family Justice, a national nonprofit based in downtown Manhattan that taps the strength of government, the expertise of families, and the resources of communities to break the cycles of involvement in the criminal justice system. Prior to this work, Lynn worked for more than 10 years at Lenox Hill Neighborhood House, a 121-year-old settlement house in Manhattan's East Side. She has a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Haverford College. She is a recipient of the Haverford Award for Service for Humanity, and throughout her career, Lynn has been dedicated to working in partnership to help develop the skills to enhance their lives and their communities. I'd just like to say, we have one of the best and the brightest here to support you. So please welcome Lynn.
Does anybody have a math question for Lynn?
Does anybody remember it's been 30 years since I was a math major, so budgets, comes up a lot in budgeting.
So as Lynn talks, just again, a reminder that part of why we're interested in hearing from Educational Alliance is because, whoops.
Sorry, there you go.
Whoops.
They're nice.
There we go. Is for you to really, as Lynn talks, think about and listen to and get ready for questions to her about how to take what she's done and apply it in your communities to what you need in your communities. So, Lynn.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Senator. And thank you all. It's really a pleasure and a privilege to be here. Let me start by saying I think what you all have done and are doing in Connecticut is so cool. I think the fact that this is a statewide initiative, that this is a bipartisan legislation is just tremendous, and we are very inspired by it in New York, and I know in every other state as well. So congratulations. We're really hoping we can figure out how New York, in many cases, can follow Connecticut's lead, but I'll just focus on this one for today. And I also want to say, I promised Sarah that I would wear my Bridgeport Bluefish hat, but it's 60 degrees and it's too hot. But I do have one, and I have been to that stadium several times. We are always learning how to do our work better, so being able to listen to the other speakers, and in particular the parents, and learn about the work you're doing is going to make a big difference in New York as well, so thank you for that. And Elaine talked about sharing a recipe. We're still building the recipe, but that's what I want to do today, is I'll tell you a little about who Educational Alliance is and where our two-generation program came from, what we've learned so far, and what we're still learning and doing. But I want to start by just asking us to imagine a child. You either imagine this little girl or a child born today. Right? You imagine a child born today, and now think about 21 years from now. Are you imagining that that child has graduated from college? If I tell you, that was a lot of nodding. If I tell you that that's a child of color, does that change? Does that change what other people in the state or across the nation are picturing? If I tell you it's the child of a single parent, or an immigrant parent, or a parent who only has a high school degree or less than a high school degree, does your picture, does the nation's picture of what that child is doing in 21 years change based on who their parent is, or who people think their parent is, or what their parent's educational background is? I think we all know that statistically it does change, and that's part of what you all, congratulations, are trying to change today, and it's what we're working on in our two-generation program at Educational Alliance. So, but before I tell you that, let me just tell you a little about who we are. We are very proud to be a national model. We are very much a local model that we hope can be replicated in lots of other communities. We started in 1889. As a settlement house, a term I hope, is that a term, I can do another. Settlement house, yes, no? Yes. Yay, okay, good. So we were founded to help Eastern European Jewish immigrants settle in their new neighborhood, and at a time that Jews were not welcome in other places. So our founders were Western European Jews who had done well in their new country. It was a time of great immigration, particularly to New York's Lower East Side, of Eastern European Jews who weren't welcome anyplace else. And so Education Alliance was created to help them be, this was a very early mission statement, good American citizens. We've continued to be of the neighborhood. We've continued to provide a variety of education, social service, arts and culture, health, wellness, and recreational services that now reach about 50,000 people a year in 17 locations, all within a 2-mile radius if it's that big. New York's a little denser than than Northeast Connecticut, for example. So, and at our core, Education Alliance is about providing opportunity, providing learning, providing connections, and connecting people to others in their community and to their community as a whole, and providing an opportunity to build skills and lift up to a better place than wherever you were when you first came to Education Alliance, which can be a not great place or a great place, but through that learning, that connection to community, that skill building, you lift up to a better place. So what is our neighborhood? So you have a sense of that. You can see that's to scale. But and I'm not going to read these stats to you. I'm just going to tell you we're a very diverse neighborhood with a lot of income, a lot of immigrants still from lots of different countries, increasingly Chinese immigrants from many different parts of China, and one of the highest income diversity indexes, which is one of my favorite stats in New York City. The income diversity index is the range between the income of the lowest income resident and the highest income resident, and we have one of the highest ranges in New York City, and we therefore think one of the highest ranges in the country. And the Education Alliance exists to serve all those people. And the thing we are particularly focused on is the 75% who lack any form of post-secondary education, and the fewer than 40% of residents who have a high school diploma, which is what we are determined to change. At Education Alliance, we have always believed that education offers everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances, the opportunity to transcend those circumstances and pursue higher aspirations that will strengthen themselves, their children, and their community. We're very proud over our 126 years to earn the trust of families, and prouder still of our ability to help them learn new skills, succeed in school, and contribute. And as you saw on a previous slide, we have a legacy of, I can go back to that for those of you who like slides, we have a legacy of innovation, right? We were one of the first kindergartens in the country, we were one of the first adult education institutions in the country, one of the first libraries in the country, one of the first state-funded childcare providers, one of the first Head Start providers, one of the first early Head Start providers, and now we're equally proud to be one of the first 2-generation programs. So where did our idea for 2-generation work come from? I will tell you, it's not that we had been doing the work or that we knew at the time about Kellogg's work or Annie Casey's work or Ascend's work. It's that we were working, tell me if this sounds familiar, we were working on a renewal proposal. And we were working on a renewal proposal to federal Head Start. And we were reminded at the time that the national standard for Head Start is that parents should have a high school equivalency diploma. And we thought to ourselves, as I think you all agree, that's not going to do a really great job of helping families move into at least the middle class if our standard for education is a high school equivalency diploma. And we thought about parents who come to us to enroll their children in early Head Start or Head Start, and they are so excited because they went to Head Start at Education Alliance. And now they're so proud to be enrolling their kids, and they're proud, and we're all thinking, in more colorful language than I will use here, oh no, right? Like, here's a family who, at least for the second generation, is eligible for Head Start. Something's gone wrong. We need to fix that. We also thought about the data that shows, which is before you, how much of a difference an education makes. And I think these stats for me are very compelling. They may be ones you've seen before, but are worth every dollar invested in high quality early childhood education saves at least $7. People with college degrees earn 60% more in their working life than those without college degrees. And we thought about one more thing, which is another you all may be familiar with which is some research, not conclusive research, but some research that shows that there's a third grade fade for Head Start kids. The kids enter school ready to learn along with their income diverse peers, and by third grade, those gains start fading. And we wondered, are those gains fading because that's when parents are starting to struggle with helping kids with their homework? Because of education level, because of language level, because of something, is that what's going on? I don't have the answer yet, but that's part of our thinking. So here's our basic concept, right? Our overarching approach is our two-generation approach. When you come to Educational Alliance, when you're pregnant, or you come to enroll your child in early Head Start or Head Start, our commitment to you, the parent, is we will stay with you and your child, both of you, until you each graduate from college. That's the concept, right? So, and I'm going to tell you a little about our initial success. The theory of our work is that by increasing parents' education, and it's contextualized learning, as I'll talk about a little more, we can reduce the third grade fade, and we can promote both short and long-term improvements in families' economic situations and children's educational outcomes. As we believe at Educational Alliance, as I expect many of you do, and this is a sort of crude drawing of the basic elements and a continuum, and if anybody wants to do some graphic design work, we welcome that. But we believe at Educational Alliance that the family is the principal force in preparing children for school and for all aspects of their life, that parents are their children's primary teachers, and it's our role to help parents be their children's educators, and our role to help parents partner with teachers in early Head Start and Head Start and in public school so that their children are succeeding in school. So we start with the child, we start from an early Head Start baby or a Head Start kid, and engage parents and children together in learning that supports the family's economic success, the child's healthy development, and the child's education success. So that means, and we start from a Head Start program. Not only, but this is our 2G work, most simply put, and as we think about legislative change, is a new and improved version of Head Start. I like to say that Head Start and I are almost exactly the same age. It's got a couple months on me. I like to believe I've grown and progressed a little more than the Head Start model has in the last 50 years, right? So still a good model, but time to do something new with it, and that's what this is. So in addition to education, we're offering wraparound services that strengthen families. We're offering mental health services, and you'll hear a little more about one of our partners who you'll hear from later today, because we know that it's important to mitigate the impact of stress to help children learn and to help parents succeed. And our early Head Start and Head Start programs are just the beginning of a family's journey with Educational Alliance, right? So they serve as the entry point to what we call our education pipeline, which is a continuum of programs from birth, educational and support programs, from birth to college graduation. So with support at each key transition along the way. I think we know like the change from Head Start to elementary school, big deal. From elementary school, we know this as parents, right? Just we forget it as professionals. Think about what it's like when your child is switching from elementary school to middle school, from middle school to high school, applying to college. So we have and we have families, as families you all work with, who have no experience doing that themselves. So part of what we do is provide support in that transition. After our Head Start kids graduate into kindergarten, they can continue in after-school programs in our local elementary and middle schools, and then they can come back to our community center for teen programming, which includes college prep, and their parents stay involved at each step along the way as well. So what makes up our 2G program? Those of you familiar with the Ascend Network model won't be surprised to hear the 4 basic elements, right? So education, economic supports, social capital, and health and well-being. All of these are critical for creating opportunity for both educational success and economic stability. We've got a whole range of services that have the potential, we believe, to generate better outcomes for parents and children and families. You can see them up there, but it's early childhood education, it's the wraparound social services, mental health, financial literacy, adult education from English for speakers of other languages, high school equivalency. We've stopped calling it GED in New York. I don't know if you guys is it still GED in Connecticut? Yeah. So we had to switch. New York, something isn't working so well, you change its name and then you keep going. So we're talking about the high school equivalency and college, right? So I'm mostly our local community college partner I'll talk about in a second, which is part of the City University of New York. We operate a lot of parent-generated activities, and I want to acknowledge Elaine and thank the parents who've spoken already. The parent voice is really important, and sometimes all of us in our busy days forget, like we have these ideas in our offices and we go to the meetings and we write the proposals and we forget to talk to the people who we're actually doing this work with and for. That's a little precursor of some of my advice. Don't forget to do that. Parent voice and parent-generated activities are social capital building. We offer employment services, and I'm coming back to family literacy, which encourages parents. It's one of these things that is so wise and yet so profoundly simple, right? You bring parents and kids together in activities with books, sometimes with wordless books, to help parents develop the habit of reading with and to their children, to give families books to take home with them, and to do things that are going to increase literacy and vocabulary use, which we all know are critical for future success, right? We've got a couple tracks because we've got parents who are proficient in English and who are ready to enroll in college or close to ready to enroll in college, typically, as I said, at community college within the CUNY system. And then we've got parents who are recent immigrants and have lower English proficiency who can enroll in our ESOL classes. Because of our focus on higher education, these tracks function as a continuum, right? We want it to be that once English language skills are strong enough, then parents are moving toward college. But as I'm going to come back to, it doesn't always happen that way, and that's part of our lesson, and that's okay. When parents enroll in our early Head Start or Head Start programs, they are partnered with a family advocate, building on the Head Start model, who provides ongoing case management and support and guidance, and works with the family to develop self-sufficiency goals and identify challenges to family stability and plans to overcome or go around those challenges. Family advocates are providing advice as parents navigate the educational system, particularly the transition into kindergarten and beyond. And again, as we think about what we can do and looking to Connecticut as a leader, take the Head Start model of family support, extend it to at least third grade. Let's see what happens to third grade phase then. So we've said that to National Head Start too, but if I've got any legislators in the room, I like to make that point. So I said we do contextualized learning, right? So, and again, focused on third grade phase. What does contextualized learning mean? It means the content of our ESOL classes, for example, are about, and I see people taking pictures, which warms my heart. Sarah's got this, and if anybody else wants these slides, they're yours. So,
We'll post them on the website. They'll be posted.
So, I mean, you can keep doing it, but it's like, it's always gratifying. So, but it means that, I lost my place, sorry. So the learning is tied to parents' experience, and it's helping parents navigate real life situations. So the ESOL classes are about how you talk to your child's teacher, about how you go to the supermarket, about what it's like when your child has to go to the doctor, right? So that parents have these linguistic tools and the general knowledge to be able to confidently have those conversations in English, a key step toward contributing to their kids' learning. We're offering parents and children's education classes in the same buildings at the same time, in our community center, in the programs we have in local public schools, and in the programs we have in local public housing. So that means we're already addressing some of the barriers that other parent education and adult education providers have identified, which is a lack of childcare. We provide childcare too, by the way, for the younger siblings, and a lack of transportation, less a problem in New York, but still offering them at the same time under the same roof makes a big difference. We're also providing a lot of opportunity for parents to connect to each other. Our retention rates have gone way up because parents are noticing when one of their peers isn't in class. When we call to say, hey, what happened today? 9 times out of 10, the parent will say, so-and-so already called me, I'll be there on Wednesday, I'm fine, don't worry about it. But parents are coming to class together. There's space in our building for them to have coffee together or develop resumes together. They're going to employment workshops together. And in our community center, we have a fitness center, and we've provided very subsidized memberships for all of our Head Start families so that they can go work out together too, all while their kids are in school with us. So we don't do this alone at Education Alliance, and it's one of the things that's impressive about the Connecticut model is how much I know these There are going to be partnerships doing this work. We know you can't be great at everything, right? We are very proud of our early childhood work and the wraparound services, but we're not adult education experts, and we weren't going to be. So we reached out to Borough of Manhattan Community College, which is our local City University of New York Community College, and they're our adult education partner. They're the ones leading the SOL classes. Most of our parents are going to BMCC for college. Those instructors have been tailoring the curriculum along with our family advocate staff and program director staff. Their offices are next to the family advocates. They're in our building. You can't tell who works for who. They know who's paying them, but other than that, it's all one big thing. And because we know that, particularly working with an immigrant population who, once English language skills are strong enough for an on-the-books job, maybe may say, like, let me go get a job while my kid's going to school. I'll come back to college later, and I'll come back to a little of how we had to learn about that. But that also meant we knew we needed to do financial literacy, and so through the Annie E. Casey Foundation, we partnered with Community Financial Resources and have been working with them to tailor their 4-session financial literacy curriculum to our population, to translate into Chinese, to translate into Spanish. We recently, in the spring, added a couple employment counselors to our staff, just so we could also respond to parents who were looking for more jobs, and we joined our local network of employment providers. And two other things. One I know you'll be familiar with. We work, starting this year, with the Crittenden Women's Union, and they've trained our staff to work with program participants to develop personalized action plans using their Bridge to Self-Sufficiency tool, which if you're not familiar with it, you should be, and Sarah can get you that information as well. And then with Connecticut's own, and I know Megan's coming later today, but Moms Partnership has been a great partner to us and has done professional development around mental health issues for our family advocates and other staff. We've always thought of this work from always. It started in 2011. It's not like it's ready. It's for like our students are. This is still in the very early stages. But from the very beginning, because we, like you, like all of us in this 2G world, are doing something new, we knew it was strategic experimentation, and we knew we had to have a sense, an external sense of whether it was working or not. And so we were fortunate enough to partner with NYU, with their School of Education, who's done a formative evaluation for us. Another lesson we learned, like we went to NYU and said, okay, so you have to do an evaluation that shows this works. And they said, essentially, but nice with this, you all seem very sweet, you don't really know what you're talking about evaluation. First, before we can tell you if the program's having an impact, we have to see if you're doing what you said you were gonna do, which we've since learned is a formative evaluation. So they did 2 years of a formative evaluation, and have stuck with us as we're getting ready to have the scale to do an actual impact evaluation. The Annie E. Casey Foundation, which along with JP Morgan Chase, who was our founding funder until they changed their funding priorities, has connected us with a couple outside evaluators, which has made a big difference. We've also, this is the first full year that we've got a customized database that's going to allow us to track both parent and child outcomes together, right, so that we can actually look at family outcomes. With NYU, we've developed a baseline survey that we are going to use to track family progress. It's the primary intake tool for families, and will be used to assess and document progress. So families complete that at the start of the academic year, and then we'll complete it at the end of the academic year, and that goes into our database. And so we're excited about having that information actually available to correlate parent and child outcomes. So here's what we've done so far, right? So we have worked with families, and the families have done it themselves, empowered them to organize and support one another. Each year our program enrollment has increased, so people are voting with their feet, which gives us a great source of pride. And it's a testament to the quality of the staff I'm really privileged to work with. Since we began in 2011, enrollment's grown by more than 150%. We have just under 130 families. We have over 600 early Head Start and Head Start families. We just under 130 in the first year, and last academic year we had just over 330. You can see some of the results there, but I'd like to just say them because it's fun to say, right? So we have 6 Head Start parents who graduated from college already. We have another 35 who are in college and another 27 right behind them working on their applications. And this is just last academic year, over 130 in ESOL, 33 in employment, and then more in family literacy and over 100 in financial education. So that just gives you some sense of the scope of what we're doing. And for us, it's the more than half of families are active 2G families, and we are going to keep pushing that up, involving parents in listening to what services will be meaningful for them. So what results does this have? These are good numbers, right? These are good inputs or outputs or whichever, but this is just participation, not insignificant. But we look at, right now we've been looking at retention for adults. There are very few national standards that we've been able to find. Some reports say you're looking for 15% retention. Some say 50%. We've been averaging 70, so whatever we're comparing to, better. And for our Head Start kids, we're looking for kids by the end of the year to be at least 90% in 7 different educational domains. We ended last year with kids averaging 96%. So I will tell the teachers you said that, thank you. And what have we learned from our friends at NYU and their formative evaluation, right? So the data that NYU did through focus groups, through interviews, through observations found that as a result of our program, which we call College Access and Success, even participants in the early stages of their education are engaging in behaviors that may positively impact their children's educational success, such as frequent reading to their children, helping them with homework, and stronger communication with teachers. Okay, so we're really inspired by what families have done and inspired by what our staff has done and how they've come, there's some version of Head Start 2.0 at this point. I will tell you, and I hope this is helpful here, it hasn't all been easy. It's almost all been fun, right? But it hasn't all been easy. And it's certainly not done yet. We are very much still learning. And that recipe continued, we're trying to figure out exactly when to add the garbanzo beans and who wants which and what you do about that, right? But so I thought it might be helpful to share just some of the things we've learned. Let me say again, as a shout out to Connecticut, for us, among the biggest challenges is sustaining funding. Excuse me, when you think about this as a new and improved version of Head Start, we're actually doing all this, more than 50% of our families with an investment of about 3 to 4% of above our Head Start budget. So more than 50 for 3 to 4% seems like a pretty good deal to us. And yet that money can sometimes be a little elusive. So again, what's happening in Connecticut is a model for all of us. But that said, it's important to remember that it takes time to do something new and change culture, right? I expect I am talking to a room of people who have always been ambitious for the people of the state of Connecticut or your region. Change takes time, and sometimes you go a little backward before you go forward. Provide training around it, provide informal opportunities to discuss what we're all trying to do and the results and the role each staff member plays. So we, for example, took the Head Start title of family worker and changed it to family advocate, which sounded to us more active. We gave everybody a little more money, not as much more money as we would like, or certainly as much more money as they would like, but we gave everybody a little more money. We changed the title, we changed the job description. Couple other things, find strong partners, share information with them. None of us can do this stuff alone, just like families can't do it alone. Look at what you're doing, take that time to just step back and say, am I working with the whole family? Right? Head Start, to its credit, talks about being the original 2-generation program, and I agree, except the traditional Head Start program, a great model, it's 2-generation because parents are volunteering in classrooms. It's not 2-generation because there are services for parents and for kids that are comparable and parallel, right? So make sure you ask that question a lot. Are we actually doing something with the whole family? Or are we doing something with parents just as a vehicle to their kids? Or with kids just as a way of eliminating a barrier to their parents, right? It's not 2-generation if it's an employment program and the only child part is, yes, there's childcare. By all means do that, but it's not 2-generation yet, right? So think about who interacts with the families you serve and whether you can bring them to the families rather than asking families to wend their way around from one program to another, right? So us bringing Borough Manhattan Community College inside our community center made a huge difference. Plan for the specific needs of families. Every family is different, right? We all know this, but it helps to be reminded. Be prepared to be surprised by who you serve, right? We came up with this idea and we were very focused on those second generation Head Start families, and we opened the doors to the program, and